I acknowledge that this research took place on the traditional territories of the Treaty 7 peoples. That includes the Siksika, Piikani, and Kainai nations of the Blackfoot Confederacy, as well as the Tsuut'ina Nation and the Stoney Nakoda nations. Calgary is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta Region 3. Acknowledging this history reminds us that the land where our schools and communities stand is not neutral, but carries the legacies of displacement, resilience, and ongoing Indigenous presence. My study examines a critical question in Canadian education. How can culturally competent career counseling models improve post-graduation planning for minority high school students? As an educator in social studies, language arts, and career and life management, I've seen just how traditional career counseling, often based in Western Universalist models, fails to reflect the lived realities of my students. Minority youth, including those from racialized, immigrant, LGBTQ, and low-income backgrounds, continue to experience inequities in school-based career guidance. This problem has significant implications for post-secondary access, career opportunities, and long-term success. This work is grounded in critical pedagogy and feminist theory, particularly the work of Frere, Noddings, and Hooks. This research views education as a political act that emphasizes voice, identity, and relational care. Some of the key findings from the literature are as follows. First, cultural competence is not a fixed skill, but an ongoing process that requires counselors to examine privilege, systemic oppressions, and their own worldview. In Canada, the need for anti-racist and equity-driven counseling frameworks is well documented, yet the definitions of cultural competence remains ambiguous. Second, identity strongly influences career exploration. Research shows that students with a strong sense of self engage more meaningfully in career planning, while LGBTQ+ youth often face discrimination, identity concealment, and safety concerns that complicate this decision-making. Third, intersectionality matters. Race, gender, sexuality, culture, and socioeconomic status interact to shape students' experiences. For instance, bicultural students navigate more complex identity development than their counterparts, and stereotypes continue to limit access to STEM pathways for girls and racialized youth. Fourth, the myth of neutrality. Studies show that supposed neutral counseling often leads to biased academic tracking, especially those who are immigrant or Black. One finding is that neutral information alone does not reduce inequity. Lastly, systemic structures, including fragmented policies, lack of training, and Eurocentric assessment tools, continue to constrain counselors. Based on these findings, I propose two key recommendations. First, implement cultural competence and advocacy-based training for counselors. Counselors must be equipped to understand diversity and challenge systemic barriers in place. Second, develop culturally responsive career interest inventories. Current tools lack cultural validity. Cultural competent assessment requires contextualized interpretation, sensitive administration, and instruments built for diverse population. In closing, cultural competent career counseling is essential for equitable, quote, post-graduation planning in Canada. When counselors affirm identity, challenge systemic bias, and use culturally informed tools, minority students gain confidence and clarity and access to opportunities that have been historically denied to them.